Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us for this webinar. Today we're going to talk about how to significantly cut your conversion costs, be it for legacy content or new content. I'm Greg Fagan, and I'm the Sales Director for the Publishing and Financial Industries at DCL. Because you're all busy people, I've tried to keep this presentation as concise as possible. So I'll talk for about 15 to 20 minutes and then open the floor to your questions. Just some quick background information on DCL before we jump in. We're content conversion experts. We take content in any format you might have it and convert it to reusable formats for digital output, such as XML, SGML, HTML5, DITA, and EPUB. We not only convert your content, but we can enrich it to make it more discoverable, usable, and deliverable to any output format or device. Aside from conversion, we offer a suite of services, including hosting, editorial services, project management, and Harmonizer, our proprietary software solution, which I'll discuss just a bit further ahead. Our deep experience, sophisticated infrastructure, and ferocious commitment to quality are what set us apart from the pack. And we serve a broad range of clients. Myriad large global companies from many different sectors entrust their content to us. And our clients span a wide array of industries, which speaks to our familiarity and fluency with many different XML schemas. Publishers, societies, pharmaceutical companies, defense contractors, and government agencies are just a few of the types of clients and industries we serve. Okay, so what's the first step for a successful conversion? Analyze. Any successful conversion project will require careful and thorough analysis up front. Like any other project, you must know what your end goals are and then plot the surest course for achieving them. Ask the critical questions, such as, do we have the expertise we need in-house? Can we scale up? Do we have the resources to handle QA on the back end? And then invest the time and resources into gathering all the requirements before moving ahead. If you take shortcuts with the analysis phase and don't give it the attention it merits, you'll likely doom your conversion project from the start. Do the heavy lifting required, even if it seems tedious. Once done, each successive step gets easier. Every organization has its own strengths and capabilities, but very few have everything they need to handle a large conversion project on their own. More than likely, you'll need a partner to manage the areas that aren't your strong suit, be it automation, cleanup, QA, wherever you might have gaps. Spend time identifying your strengths and capabilities so that you know which parts of the project can be handled internally and which parts you should outsource. Then choose a vendor who complements your capabilities. The best vendors can help you identify critical issues and set strategy at the earliest stages of the project. Just as an example, most publishers are strong in editorial and production. The editorial team knows the content really well and thus can work closely with their chosen vendor or vendors to identify the target audience or audiences and the different content types. The production staff excels at quality assurance because it's a big part of what they do every day. Where they're not usually strong, however, is on automated processes because they tend to rely on their vendors for this. A financial company, on the other hand, might be really strong on automation, but not on content identification and QA. The next step is to optimize your content by eliminating redundancies and errors before conversion. Garbage in, garbage out is a cliche for sure, but a useful one for content conversion. Optimizing your content is critical to cost reduction, so whether you do it yourself or outsource it to a vendor, you don't skip this step. Our experience has shown that most document or data collections contain more than 50% redundancy, meaning that many organizations are maintaining twice as much content as they need to at twice the expense. This also means that updating the same content multiple times through multiple divisions expends precious resources, time, and money. Since most organizations are looking to streamline their content management process, erasing the concern of managing redundant content needs to be at the forefront of your strategy. Harmonizer is DCL's proprietary software solution to identify and eliminate redundant content from even the largest document collections. It's a great tool for content optimization, and its benefits are numerous, such as helping you determine reuse potential for return on investment, combining disparate document types into a single set, reducing the size of your content set before conversion, which lowers your costs, and making future updates easier. It can be a key part of your plan to reduce conversion costs overall. Now, it's not my intention to make this webinar a commercial for DCL or Harmonizer. I'm sure there are other automated programs on the market for reviewing and cleaning up your content, or you could develop a homegrown tool. But Harmonizer is effective, and it's the most comprehensive tool that I'm aware of, given its ability to find redundancies and errors and deliver an easy-to-interpret report, which you can then use to develop a content action strategy. In order to realize significant savings on any large-scale conversion, automation is essential. Manual processes are labor-intensive and result in far too many errors. You need a repeatable process that scales up easily. And along the way, you must refine and configure your process until it's lights out and flawless. A good vendor will implement such a process and iterate with you to continually refine and configure it. The repetition in that last bullet is there to drive home the point that even a well-designed process will likely require some changes on the fly, such as new content types, spec changes, additional volume, and so on. And a proactive vendor will help you identify and manage those changes. Every data set, including yours, is unique and thus requires a customized solution. As you work with your vendor in building your automated conversion, be sure that both sides are completely invested and engaged. Not only should your vendor be asking the right questions and advancing the process according to your needs, but someone from your side needs to be driving the process and continually engaging with the vendor. A responsible vendor is happy to make recommendations, but what they don't want to do is make decisions about your content. That's your role. So have a strong project leader in the driver's seat. So what defines a good process? An effective automated process requires little to no manual intervention, scales up easily, and can handle all the different content types that were identified during the analysis phase. The more automated the process, the more cost-effective it will be. If your project team is consistently jury-rigging ad hoc workarounds to handle the throughput from your vendor, and as a former production person, I know very well that production staffs are particularly adept at doing this because they're schedule-driven, then your process is broken. If client and vendor are working as true partners, then this won't happen. Finally, step 4 is QA review. Even if your conversion was well designed and ran smoothly in a mostly automated fashion, you'll still need people to eyeball the content after it's been converted. Something can always go wrong, and a thorough QA check is essential to spotting anomalies and errors. QA is built into DCL's conversion process because we realize it's essential to delivering error-free content. If you opt to handle QA yourself, make sure that you budgeted the necessary staff time and resources to do it right, keeping in mind that staff time is a cost. QA is really more than one step in the process. Though it should certainly be its own step, QA should really be done at every step. The vendors committed to quality is a mindset that permeates everything they do. When you work with DCL, we work with our own offshore partners to keep your conversion costs down. But we have critical steps to our process that you don't get when you go directly offshore. The steps contained in the green boxes illustrate these additional services, which are essential to any successful conversion project. A thorough analysis considers not only content type, but poses questions about who the users are, how they'll interact with the content, and which platforms and devices they'll access it from. Our Harmonizer software can reduce the size of your content set, eliminate redundancies, and find errors before conversion. Our automation software provides a scalable and repeatable process, which is far more efficient than throwing bodies at a project to do extensive rekeying. Our offshore vendors use our proprietary automation tools. Our QA is done by our US-based project teams. Absent this step, you'd have to handle the QA internally, which involves substantial staff and management time, And if you work directly with an offshore vendor, the converted content you would be checking likely would not have been thoroughly analyzed at the front end, nor run through a customized automation process. We also give our clients access to our production tracking system so that they can see the current status and due dates for upcoming milestones. All of these services lead to well-structured, error-free deliverables. Cleanup and rework, which can lead to cost overruns of nearly 100%, are virtually eliminated. All things considered, a holistic approach to conversion saves you money in the long run. Here are a couple of quick examples of conversion projects that were poorly planned and badly managed. The first involves a university press that selected an offshore vendor primarily on price. Both the quality and timeliness of the work were poor. The QA process was extensive and thus required unbudgeted resources, and the cleanup and rework ended up costing nearly as much as the initial conversion. On top of that, their time to market with the converted content has been delayed by about 2 years. They've now turned to DCL to get the project back on track. Obviously, you never want to find your organization in this position. It's inefficient, costly, and frustrating, but it happens more often than you would think. The second example involves a professional society that was looking to convert 250,000 pages of legacy content. The low-cost vendor they selected initially didn't deliver the desired quality or needed throughput. They decided to cut their losses and find another vendor. They partnered with DCL, and the result was a project completed in 8 weeks with a high degree of satisfaction. That partnership continues on several key initiatives. Often, legacy content is more complex and difficult to manage than new content. In many cases, it was designed for one specific output, and not much thought was given to proper storage, retrieval, or reusability. There are also different document types, formats, and levels of complexity, like heavy math and tabular material, that were never meant for digital output. This is where a high-quality vendor will really earn its stripes by properly identifying, categorizing, and converting their legacy content to a well-structured format. So what are the key takeaways that I'd like you to have from this presentation? The first is your content is your #1 asset and should always treat it as such. Conversion, although it's often thought of as one, isn't really a commodity. Doing it cost effectively requires careful planning, sufficient resources, and repeatable processes, and you really do have to follow through. Choose your vendor or vendors wisely. And a good vendor should invest the time with you on the front end to understand what your end goals are and put the appropriate processes in place to make the process run smoothly. There is a cost to do-it-yourself conversion. Don't go it alone. I can't emphasize that strongly enough. Find a partner that works well with you and stick with that partner. There are also hidden costs to conversion done on the cheap, such as cleanup, staff time, and management time. Those are all hidden costs. The most expensive conversion you will ever do is one that doesn't produce the desired outcome. That's probably the most important point here. Really make sure that you have your goals in mind and that you lay out a good process so that you get what you want to get at the end. You want to end up with a good end result. Choosing a high-quality vendor who works with you to get it right the first time will ultimately save you money. So to summarize, analysis plus optimization plus automation plus review equals savings. Following the steps and processes detailed here will reduce your conversion costs, increase your speed to market, free up those precious resources, and help you avoid headaches. I'd like to thank everyone on the line for listening today and for sitting through this presentation, and I'm happy to open things up to your questions now.
Thank you, Greg. The first question has come in is, does the Harmonizer product accept all content types for input?
It does. There's a little more work involved if it's PDFs that come in, because we'll have to convert those first and then bring those into XML, but it really doesn't matter what format your content is in. Harmonizer can work with it.
Great, thank you. The next question has come in is, are the automation tools you use proprietary?
For the most part, yes. I mean, we have a blend of COTS, commercial off the shelf, and customized tools, but every conversion project is unique. We tend to develop our own tools to handle those projects and the different needs of different content sets.
Okay, thank you. And the next question has come in is, can you provide an example of your automation process that has deployed successfully for a client?
I think let me think on that a second. Yeah, we did a project for the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office where we developed an automated software or service or software as a solution, or SaaS, where they had millions of patent applications, which they were storing as static, non-searchable images. And we converted those into searchable, reusable XML. There was a huge volume and a ton of complexity with the documents because there were about at least 500 types. So it was a really massive undertaking, and I think it took us a good year of analysis and laying out a process to come up with the precision needed to run this process. But once we got it in place, we put an automated solution process in place, and it really brought order and speed and accuracy to their process. And I think what they're producing now is about 300,000 pages a week and a 4-hour turnaround time for some of their most common document types. So that's really, it's really turned their whole program around as far as getting patent applications in and processing them quickly. Any other questions?
Thank you, Greg. Not at this time, but if you have any questions, please feel free to submit them through the question area. We'll just give it a couple of moments, Greg. Well, at this time, there are no other questions, so I would like to thank everyone for attending today's webinar. This webinar has been recorded and will be available to view in the archive section of our website located at www.dclab.com. This will conclude today's broadcast, and again, thank everyone for attending and have a great day.